All right, everybody, welcome to video number 2 in this 5-part series. I'm Sean Radlick from Ignite My Money, and today we're going to talk about landlord and tenant laws. And if you missed our first video, I encourage you to go back and watch that. In that one, we discussed the areas of the country that are most favorable for investing, where I focus, and also we talked a little about positive net migration and job market being important factors when I choose the markets I want to invest in. So once I determine that fits for me, I then turn my attention to landlord-tenant laws. I want to make sure that I'm investing in states that are favorable to me, the landlord, and the investor. Now, that can be important. We want there to be fairness on both sides, and we want laws to protect both people. But there are some states out there that lean much more toward the tenant side. And frankly, as an investor and as a real estate owner, that makes it really difficult on our part to do honest and fair business and do anything in a timely manner. So quite frankly, the one thing I look for in an investment market is the least amount of involvement from the government as possible. And so for me, that means finding states that are landlord friendly and maybe are at least swaying a little bit in our favor when it comes to the ability to do things quickly. Compliance is one area. Now, we want to be compliant with our properties, but we don't want it to take forever. Remember, the longer we have a unit open or that someone isn't in there, we're losing money. So we want to be compliant, but we don't want to have all of the fees and the time that often come with that compliance. We want there to be quick decisions and be able to move forward and as rapidly as possible, get that unit rented out, get the tenant in, so that they can start to live in that comfortable, affordable housing that we've provided. The other thing that you might be up against if you're in a tenant-friendly situation is that you may not be able to raise the rent as quickly as you want. So it'll be up to you to determine how quick or how often you want to increase the rent. Some people do it every single year. Some people do it when a tenant moves out and before the new one moves in, they kind of right size to the market. Totally up to you. That's your strategy. But if I were owning a property and I decided I wanted to increase the rent, I wouldn't want a lot of red tape. So a lot of landlord-friendly states allow you to raise the rent with 30 days notice, which is fair, right? Some states require a lot more than that, a lot more runway. And probably the last and most important area is talking about evictions. Now, no one ever wants to get to the point of the eviction. The tenant doesn't, and contrary to popular belief, the landlord doesn't either. If there is a unit that's empty, we're not making any money off of that. So we want to have that tenant in there as long as possible, keep them happy, keep them paying, all of that. It's good for both sides. But let's say we get into a situation where the tenant doesn't pay or is not a great tenant and you have to start to go through this eviction process. You want that to be as clean as possible, as quick as possible, and not have the mess, the fuss, costly fees, costly time, all of that stuff. In states that it takes a long time to actually get someone out of your property, you could go that whole period of time without any rent coming in. That's a huge issue as an investor. So when we talk about eviction, again, we never want to get to that point. But if we do get to that point, we want it to move as quickly as possible. We want to be able to serve notice as quick as possible. We want to peacefully separate from that tenant and get a new tenant in there as quick as we can so that we can continue to get that rent coming in as fast as possible. So here's some things that I look at when I'm trying to determine if a state is landlord friendly or tenant friendly. And again, you're looking for that balance Both sides need to have representation and need laws that protect them. I tend to find states that are at least even, or maybe even lean a little bit more toward the landlord side, where it's easier to do some of these things that I need to do as an investor and as a property owner, and doesn't cost me time and money with a lot of unnecessary red tape and time and things like that. So hopefully you learned from this. If you did, please forward it on to friends and family and click the like button. And we invite you to come back for video number 3 coming up, where we're going to talk about property taxes.